Welcome back, students. In this tutorial, I'm going to go over your assignment, which is a billboard assignment. This tutorial is a fairly long tutorial, so please take many breaks as you go along. The first thing that I want to do is, for my assignment, is I want to go ahead and I want to find an inspiration. And because I'm looking for any in-store signage or any billboards that are out there, I chose to do a Google search of in-store signage of Under Armour. And in doing that, what I found was a couple examples that I'm going to use their technique for layout. You'll notice that both of the in-store signages that are here have very similar layouts. Illustrations on the right and left hand side. It's broken into almost 3 quadrants that you can see, with the Under Armour logo in the center top, and then whatever the sale happens to be in the center bottom. You'll notice on this it is the same idea. Illustration, illustration, the Under Armour logo, and then of course whatever the sale is. So using this as my inspiration, I'm going to create a billboard of my own. My suggestion to you is, before you even start to come up with a plan that you're going to recreate for your billboard. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by creating new. And I'm just going to go ahead and use a 7x5 horizontal shape in order to start my billboard. So this is my canvas that I'm going to be using, and what I am going to want to do is I'm going to want to make sure that I can see everything, and I can use the Control- key again to give me a better look of what I'm working on. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the first piece that I'm going to do, and that is going to be that I want to use the Under Armour logo. But for this particular project, there is going to be a part of it that you are going to have to trace. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Place. And in my files that I have for my billboard, I actually have the Under Armour logo as a file. Anytime I'm bringing in an illustration of some sort or a picture, I am not going to insert it or open it. I'm going to place it. Once that I have placed, I can see that it's a very, very large file. So I do want to go ahead and transform my object, and I want to bring it down in size. So I'm going to go ahead and do scale on this. And it's automatically going to give me 100% scale, but I'm going to go down to 50 and see where that leads me. Now obviously we can see that I've lost it somewhere. Here's my piece right here. I can go ahead and drag it up onto my canvas. And this is normal. Sometimes we just choose things that are a little bit larger than what we need them for. It just means that we would then scale it down to the size that we really want. I'm going to go ahead and go under Object again, and I'm going to do a Transform Each on it. Where I did the scale before to transform it, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how I'm actually transforming it. I want to make sure that I click on the preview key so I can see the differences that I'm making. If I do vertically and bring that down, you can see that it kind of smushes it together. And if I move the horizontal as well, it then moves that piece down. So I'm just going to get it to where it looks like it would fit pretty nicely in my piece. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then I'm going to move this right where I kind of want it to be. Now, currently, this particular object, I could just bring it in and use it. It has a transparent background. However, because you do need to get tracing within this particular piece, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we trace around a piece in order to use it as our own. Obviously, I do not recommend using anything that has a trademark, because this is for learning purposes only, and we will not be using this as distribution. We are okay to use the Under Armour logo as our guide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the pen tool. I want to make sure two things. When I come down into my color and my stroke, I want to make sure that my color is none. That means I'm going to use the cross out. And my stroke is a different color than what the color that I'm tracing is. So we can see that this is black. If I use this black stroke to trace, it would be very, very hard to see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a different color so I'm able to see it better. The other thing that I want to think about in regards is the color, not just the color, but the possible size of this. I think I should be okay right now, so I'm just going to start tracing. So I'm going to start in a corner, because that's the easiest place to start. I'm going to go ahead and click, and do you notice that if I get really close here to this point, oops, that there is a bit of an arc from this point to this point. So what I have to do is I'm going to click and drag until I'm just hovering around that arc. And because I used a nice thick stroke, it's a little bit easier for me to see. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it down just a little bit. Excuse me. Come to my next point. Click and drag in order to get the arc here. Whoa. And that's, that's okay. It's not perfect. If I really wanted to go back, I could Control Z to go back. Click, and then of course drag out again. So I'm just using the same motion of clicking corner to corner and dragging and moving my Benzie around to create those arcs. Notice that if I went here, it'd be kind of a weird bend because it goes in. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick piece here and then do a bend within here. And at this point, you should get a really good idea, and I'm going to continue my work in a fast forward motion. So you're going to see me going fairly fast within this piece now. Doing this process does take a lot of time, and it does take a lot of practice. You can probably see this is not something that I achieved perfection overnight. It takes a lot of time to get to this point of clicking and dragging in order to get those bends. And you can see that it's okay if I'm not perfect. Remember, the idea is that you're just dangerous enough. You don't have to be perfect. Come back to that point, go to this point, and I'm dragging out in order to create the bend. Come to the center, this point here has a little bit of bend to it. Come to this point here, this one has a fairly larger bend in the middle. Here, a little bend. And finally up here at my end point. Once I have clicked end to end on these, it creates the one shape. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out on this just a little bit to show you exactly what we've created. Because there is the tracing part of this, if I move the black, whoops, not using my pen tool, but using my move tool, go ahead and move the black, you should see my red line left. So all that tracing that I did with the red is now left. Now you're going to notice that I have a spot in the middle that I didn't take out. And I can do that by bringing it back in my shape and going ahead and cutting out that piece there. For now I'm going to leave it. It's okay if it looks like this to me because I'm not going to reuse it. So I can delete this at that point. Now keep in mind, over here I decided that the red was going to be my stroke line, and then the fill was going to be empty. At this point is when I'm going to go ahead and change my fill. So I'm just going to choose a color that I think complements the red stroke that I used. And now I have my traced out Under Armour logo for my billboard. I usually do my tracing parts first for my Illustrator pieces, just to make sure that I have the right place that I want them to be. Now I'm going to continue on with creating my billboard with my inspiration in mind. And just a reminder what the inspiration is. Maybe. Isn't that great when things don't come up correctly? Oh, this one here. The inspiration here. I have two pictures that I'm using here, and then of course I have this middle part here. Now I'm actually going to create my two pictures, and I'm going to use Photoshop in order to do that. So to show you how this would look in the end, this is what I have created. I had a shoe that I photoshopped on this kind of space background. I had a player that I also photoshopped on a space background. He actually was wearing Nike. Excuse me. He was wearing Nike, and so I was able to go ahead and put another Under Armour logo right on his jersey here, so it showed consistency. But as you can see, this piece was the Under Armour that I traced out, and I changed the color. I used some block colors in here to create some balance. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at how that was used. To create some of those blocks and categories, I actually used my shape tool and the rectangle tool for that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up to the corner, and I'm going to drag it down and pull over. And because I like the way that this shape looks, I'm going to go ahead and, holding my Alt key, I'm just copying that same piece and I'm putting it over to the opposite side. I can change these colors once they're selected to whatever color I would want them to be. Right now it has a white stroke. Maybe I want it to have, a red stroke. Maybe I want it to have a white stroke on it. There's a lot of different changes that I can make to these pieces as we go along. This is just showing you how to put them into place. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was really based on the tracing. We're going to start taking a lot of the concepts, the single concepts, and putting them in together in order to create assignments and nice flyers and projects. See you soon.